At times, we all feel stuck between a rock and a hard place. This is especially common early in academia. You've just finished your PhD, but now as an ECR or MCR, you need to prove that you can be independent all over again. You're working nights, you're staying long hours, you're working here on campus very, very late, and it feels like you never graduated or stopped your training at all. There's still a lot you need to learn in academia outside of research. Teaching, learning, leadership, service, community engagement. But where do you find the time to learn all of this information and all of these skills? There's so much more in academia and you need to learn all of it. How can you work smarter, not just harder? Hello, if it's your first time here, my name is Jack Wang and I'm a microbiologist, science educator, and the 2020 Australian University Teacher of the Year. I've had the privilege of speaking at many professional development panel events for early career academics. And what really inspires me is how great and motivated all of you are. The vast majority of ECRs I've talked to have mapped out their career way more than I ever did at whatever stage. And I think that's sadly a reflection of how much more competitive academia has become, even over the past 10 years. Academia isn't all about research, but early on it has to be more or less your entire focus. Publications and conference presentations are the main way that ECRs can build their credibility, and it's an all-consuming task to stay in the game. Often it comes at the cost of developing other important skills which is still necessary for your first jobs in academia. I don't think I'm qualified to give broad general advice about how ECRs should plan their careers, but where I think I can genuinely help is to give you a sense of how you should approach your professional development as a teacher early on. On this channel, I've made videos about how to present at conferences, how to teach online, and how to write your first talk or lecture. Skills that directly influence your ability to form collaborations, apply for academic jobs, and supervise students. Being a more effective teacher and communicator does impact on your ability to be a more effective researcher. Where do you find the time to learn how to teach? In this video, I'll walk through 5 tips on how to be more strategic in developing your teaching and learning skills, especially as an early career academic. A very common misconception I try to dispel for ECRs is that teaching at university means lecturing. Almost no ECRs or even very senior postdocs are given the chance to give lectures at a university or college. This may be controversial somewhat, but most of the teaching I've been involved with works best with a smaller teaching team. It gives students a more consistent experience for each class, and everyone knows what to expect, especially when setting and marking assessment. This may not be possible if your program is accredited in such a way that mandates a very, very large teaching team, but odds are there are not that many spots open for ECRs to lecture. This doesn't mean that you have no opportunity to teach though. At my institution, teaching is defined as a range of responsibilities, which includes developing curriculum and assessment tasks, selecting novel teaching approaches or learning technologies, and coordinating teaching, which means responding to student queries, managing medical certificates or assessment extensions, and organizing timetabling and scheduling. It's not just about giving lectures, which is actually the least time-consuming part of the whole endeavor. It's much easier to be involved in tutorial sessions, laboratory prac classes, redesigning graphics or slide templates, managing student queries, or trialing and learning technology as opposed to just giving lectures. Get to know the chair of teaching and learning committees in your school, faculty, or institute. Understand where the time and resourcing pressures are coming from in their teaching allocations. Offer to help out, and if you stick to this strategy and are willing to engage in different modes, you will get more opportunities. Assuming you already have some teaching experience, diversifying your teaching portfolio is very important. In science, many PhD students tutor lab prac classes over many years, and that's very valuable. That's how I cut my teeth as a teacher. But it can very easily become the entirety of your teaching experience and is not enough. When you apply for your first academic job, sure, papers and presentations and grants still headline your CV, but just one dot point under teaching can be quite underwhelming to selection panels. It's not just about how many times you've taught the same class in the same mode, but about the different types of teaching you've been involved with. Have you run tutorials, problem-based learning workshops? Have you marked student assessment and designed a way to provide meaningful and constructive feedback? Do you have experience in both online and in-person teaching, or design learning resources purely for online delivery? Teaching is not just about giving guest lectures on your research topic. You need to slowly develop a broad range of skills and experiences. You won't be able to do everything at once, so setting goals to broaden the scope of your experiences in teaching one by one is the smart approach. Already, this sounds like an awful lot of effort to persistently stay engaged in teaching amidst all of the other pressures and responsibilities you're under as an ECR. But to stay motivated in all of this, you need to know why you want to be a teacher. Sure, it can be a box-ticking exercise for a job application, but if that's your mentality, you will run out of steam sooner rather than later. You need to have a teaching philosophy, why you teach the way you do,
and it needs to be more than "that's how I was taught and I turned out okay." Teaching philosophies are personal, grounded in educational literature, and reflect the current teaching landscape. This all sounds abstract or airy-fairy, so let me give you a concrete example. As I've previously talked about on this channel, I was an effective undergraduate student. I have a good memory, a knack for details, and dealt with the pressure of exams okay. It turns out though that I was a terribly ineffective early career scientist. While I was great at remembering information, I had no idea how to learn new skills or apply them towards different contexts. I spent the past 15 years trying to retrace my steps to figure out how I can help others learn these higher order skills through a science education. The learning theory that resonated with my experience the most was constructivism, trying to organize information in a loose hierarchy before actively tearing down and rebuilding those conceptual frameworks again and again. The knowledge is always changing in science, so the ability to be intellectually nimble and receptive to new information is crucial. That's my teaching philosophy. Doesn't have to be yours because it's personal to me, but I can explain it in the span of an elevator pitch. It's actually really hard to do this, and distilling everything you believe about teaching into a couple of sentences is a skill you need to learn as well. Now, keep in mind, there is no one single teaching approach that works for everyone. If you don't believe it as a teacher, then it won't work for you. My suggestion is to try reading more broadly about different educational theories and try to put it down on paper. What is your own teaching philosophy? It will change over time. Mine certainly has. And your teaching philosophy is what ultimately drives and motivates you to keep teaching, especially with all of the changes happening in the current higher education landscape. And that's the underlying context for my next tip, which is to become adept in at least one aspect of online teaching. Do you know how to set up an online class? Configure your webcam or microphone properly? Set up learning management systems to upload slides or assessment tasks? Do you know what tools you should be using to check for plagiarism or set online exams? Or can you make animations, graphics, podcasts, or videos to create an original online learning environment for your students? 10 years ago, there would have been no pressure to learn this, but of course, pandemic teaching forced everyone in the sector to learn on the fly. You don't have to be good at all of it, but if there's one thing you can do really well in the online space, it will have a huge advantage in the current climate. If you don't have to ask for help from an audiovisual or IT team to set up your course, you save yourself a lot of time, but you also immediately become a resource for your peers and colleagues. The lane I've picked is making videos. I make lab skills videos. I film and edit my own lectures. I also make professional learning videos on teaching skills like this one. And learning this video production skill set from scratch really benefited my career. There's still so much more I'd like to learn, and the only constant is change. Everything in our sector is moving towards online communication, and I've learned to be very adaptable, and you should as well, to be valuable in this context. So think about picking up an online skill to further develop as you go. Remaining flexible and adaptable is not easy to do by yourself, and you need mentors to help see the forest for the trees. You should aim to find more than one mentor, because I believe your immediate supervisor may rightly demand that your focus is entirely on research. It makes you and them more competitive, certainly in the short term, but it may not align with your developmental trajectory in 5 or 10 years' time. You do need to be proactive in seeking out other mentors, but it doesn't have to be some kind of life-altering karate kid-like arrangement. Make it casual and natural, maybe just a conversation over coffee or a drink. Think about the value you bring to the table for any potential mentor, because they should get something out of it just as much as you. You should also consider mentors outside of your immediate discipline. I've learned the most from teachers outside of microbiology, which is my discipline, collaborating with teachers in maths, physiotherapy, business, psychology. It's all changed and molded my perspective towards teaching for the better. Cast a wide net, and just by reaching out, you're already proactively broadening your professional networks, whether they become an official mentor or not.
Look, none of this is easy, but the only thing I'm heartened by is that over the years, all of the ECRs I've talked to are some of the most motivated, enthusiastic, and energetic people our sector has the good fortune to recruit and hopefully retain. If this video has one single idea that helps you to be more strategic in your professional development of teaching, that is a success in my books. Hope this was helpful for you. This is the Biolab Collective. I'm Jack Wang, and I'll see you in the next video.